Okay, we need to talk about stretching. Because today, we're going to challenge one of the most fundamental beliefs in all of health and fitness, the idea that more stretching is always a good thing. You might actually be shocked to find out there's a huge gap between what we think stretching does and what the science really says.
So let me ask you this. Why do you stretch? I'm willing to bet that for most of you, the answer is because I feel tight. You know that feeling, right? That stiffness in your neck, your lower back, your hamstrings. Your gut reaction is to just stretch it out. It feels like the right thing to do. But what if that very sensation is actually leading you down the wrong path?
And that brings us to the core idea we're going to unpack. That feeling of tightness is absolutely a signal from your body. But, and this is the big but, it's often not a signal that your muscles are simply too short. A lot of the time, your body's trying to tell you something completely different.
To really get this, we have to start with two words that most people use interchangeably but are worlds apart: flexibility and mobility. Honestly, confusing these two is probably the #1 reason why so many people stretch and never seem to get lasting results.
All right, so first up is flexibility. Think of flexibility as your passive range of motion. Imagine a physical therapist is stretching your hamstring for you. They lift your leg, you relax. An outside force is doing all the work. You have access to that range, for sure, but you're not the one in control of it.
Now, mobility. Mobility is different. It's active. It's how high you can lift that very same leg all by yourself, using your own muscle strength and coordination, without falling over or using momentum. This is the range you truly own. It's the range you can actually use in real life, safely and effectively.
I love this analogy because it makes it so clear. Flexibility is like having the key to a room. Great, you can open the door. But mobility, that's the skill and strength to actually walk around inside that room without bumping into things or tripping over the coffee table. One gets you in the door, the other lets you function once you're inside.
And this is where it gets really interesting and kind of serious. If you have a huge gap between your flexibility and your mobility, meaning you can be put into positions that you can't control yourself, that can actually be a setup for injury. It means your body can get into trouble that your nervous system isn't prepared to handle. You're more vulnerable, not less.
Okay, so let's circle back to that feeling of tightness. If it's not always a sign of short muscles, then what on earth is your body trying to say?
This is really the heart of the matter. You don't feel tight just sitting still. That sensation pops up when your body's protective system sense some kind of potential threat or instability. And that alarm bell can be triggered by a whole bunch of different things.
Look at this list. We all automatically assume it's #1, right? Tissue stiffness. But honestly, it's often something else. It could be your actual joint structure just saying, nope, that's as far as we go. Or, and this is a huge one, your brain literally hitting the emergency brake because it thinks a movement is unsafe. It could also be a lack of coordination or your body guarding an old injury, or even just the physical effects of stress. Trying to aggressively stretch those things is like screaming at a smoke detector instead of looking for the fire.
So you don't have to just take my word for it. Let's look at the hard science. A global panel of experts got together to review decades of research and come to an official consensus on what stretching is and isn't good for. Their conclusions are pretty eye-opening.
Now, let's be super clear. This isn't about saying stretching is useless. It's not. It's just a very specific tool for very specific jobs. And when you use it for the right job, it works great.
So here's what the science solidly supports. #1, it absolutely can improve your range of motion. That's its primary, most reliable effect. 2, it can reduce muscle stiffness, but here's a little caveat. Sometimes you want stiffness, like in your tendons for explosive power. And 3, this one is kind of wild, it might actually improve your vascular health, which could be a massive deal for people who can't do other forms of exercise.
All right, now for the fun part, the myth busting. The expert panel was just as clear about the things we think stretching does, but the evidence just isn't there.
So here are the big 3. For general injury prevention, nope. Strength training is way, way better. For fixing your posture, stretching tight muscles alone doesn't work. You have to strengthen the opposing muscles to actually hold a new position. And for building muscle, well, it's a terrible return on your time investment compared to just lifting weights. For all these goals, there are just much better tools in the toolbox.
But of all the myths, the biggest, most widespread, universally believed one has to be the cool-down stretch, what we all do after a hard workout. And folks, the science on this could not be more clear.
100%. That's how much agreement the international panel had on this specific topic. It was the strongest, most unanimous conclusion they reached about anything.
Let that just sink in for a second.
a unanimous scientific consensus that stretching after you exercise does not reduce muscle soreness and does not speed up your recovery. It's not going to hurt you, but if you're only doing it because you think it's a magic bullet for recovery, well, you're probably just enjoying the comfort of a familiar ritual. It's basically a placebo.
Okay, so if the answer isn't just stretch more, then what are we supposed to do? What does a smarter approach actually look like? Let's build a really simple, practical framework.
But first, a really quick, really important heads up for two specific groups. If you're dealing with chronic pain, gentle stretching can be part of the solution, but it can't be the only solution. And if you're hypermobile, naturally very bendy, more stretching is often the last thing you need. For you, the top priority should always be building stability and strength to control the massive range you already have.
For everybody else, here's a fantastic, simple 10-minute daily practice. It's how you build real, lasting mobility. Step 1, you spend a few minutes gently creating some range. Step 2, you work on controlling that new range using just your own muscles. Slow, controlled movements. And finally, step 3, you load that range with some simple strength exercises. This is how you turn passive access into active ownership.
So really, it all comes down to this. We've been programmed to feel tightness and immediately think, I need to stretch more. I want to leave you with a much better question to ask yourself.
Instead of just jumping to the conclusion that you need more flexibility, ask, what is my body truly asking for right now? Is it asking for more strength so it can feel stable and safe? Is it asking for better motor control so it feels coordinated? Or maybe, is it just asking for the confidence to move into a position that it currently sees as a threat? Listening for those answers, that's the real secret to moving better for the rest of your life.